What's up, everybody? My name is Pharaoh, and welcome back to the Scripted Kingdom, where you tune the fuck in as I tune the fuck in, period. As you see by the title today, we are tuning into my entire February 2025 wrapped the fuck up. Yay! We're back with another one. I am very, very excited to talk to you guys today about all of the movies that I watched in February. It is a very exciting moment. Let's get in motherfucking to it, okay? Period. Now, disclaimer. Last month, I said that I wanted to watch 20-ish movies because I had watched 10 in January. And so for my January wrap up, I was like, oh, okay, I want to watch more. I want to get into like double the amount I got into because I definitely could have got into more movies, which is still true. Now, did I do it? No. This month, I did not do it because during February, I ended up moving. I knew I was moving in February, but a part of me was like, oh, girl, it'll be seamless. It'll be like 2-3 days. You'll be fine. You'll take off. Wooty, wooty, whoop. Absolutely not. I moved. And when I tell you I was thrown off for like 2 full weeks, which is like, duh, Pharaoh. I should have definitely knew that and planned for that more. But a part of me was like, no, I'm going to be able to keep up and do. I had started my watch of Invincible Season 3. I was like, I'm going to keep up with this. I'm going to catch up. Like, I was just trying to do a lot at the same time. And then I got sick when I moved in. So not only was I moving in and struggling to get everything organized with that, I was also, of course, doing my other podcast, working full time. And then I got sick. I was like, oh, fuck no. So things had to get prioritized and certain things couldn't get prioritized. So with our February wrap up, I was able to watch 12 movies this month, which was still a lot. It was still more than last month. And that was the true goal. The true goal was to just get more than last month. And that's what I did. So look, I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm glad I was able to do that at least. So here we are, my 12 movies that I watched. And look, just to clarify, because one of these movies is going to be like, girl, what are you talking about? Or maybe 2 of them. Just to clarify, for these wrap-ups, it's going to include, or I'm going to mention every movie that I've watched this month, period. Whether it's a rewatch or whether it's a current watch, a new watch, if that makes sense. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to treat this podcast as like a restart, a reset in my movie watching experience. So for me, it's like still important if I watch an old movie for the first time to include it, or if I watch a movie that I haven't seen for the first time to include it. This isn't just 2025 movies, is the point. So you'll see a lot of older movies, different years, shit like that. And then you'll still see some from 2025. It's a mixture. Okay, you just got to get with it, vibe with me. Boom. So here are the 12 movies that I watched this month, and this is in the order that I watched them. The first movie I watched this month was Emilia Perez. Child. We'll get into that. Then I watched Dog Man. I watched A Complete Unknown. I watched Dune Part 2. I watched Hard Eyes, Love Hurts, Nickel Boys, Parasite, period. Captain America, A Brave New World. Damn, that was last month? Girl, I was thrown off. B.A.P.S, Conclave, and The Monkey. So I watched 12 movies last month. As you see, I was doing a little cute demure Oscars watch. I was trying to watch every Best Picture of the Oscars. I got all of them in except I'm Still Here, because as soon as I was ready to watch I'm Still Here, I was done being sick and all of that. They removed it from the theaters, and I was like, fuck, I can't watch it. I fucked up. So I watched 9 of the 10 Oscars nominations, and I feel like I should have a segment about the Oscars, to be honest, because it's March. What should I do? Should I make another video? I don't think I can make another video. So I feel like I should just include it. Maybe I should include it in the March wrap up because the Oscars was in March. That's what I should do. I'll do that. Boom. So yeah, I did me a cute little demure Oscar rewatch. I was trying to catch up with that in February. And then also in February, of course, I watched some new movies that dropped in February. Now, I've heard through the grapevine, through podcasts, through Twitter, that these early months are not the heavy hitter months for the movies. And I could definitely still tell. I don't know if January was worse or February was worse. That should definitely be a segment in this too. Was this a better month than last month? For me, January was still a better month than February because of the movies I watched in January. I watched The Brutalist. I watched Anora in January. So for me, I was like, shit, January is giving what it needs. One of them days was really good. So for me personally, my experience in January was very fun. Also, it was the first time I dedicated myself to watching film. So for me, January was fine to me. I didn't really feel the heaviness of the lack of the good movies. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did. I could tell that the movies that were actually coming out in 2025, Wolfman and shit, I was like, okay, wait, these are duds. So I could definitely tell that. But because I'm doing this mixture of old movies, especially because I was catching up with the Oscars, it was just a different vibe. So these first 2 months for me, it's definitely not going to be consistent with how normal movie watching experience will go in the beginning of the month. So I don't know if I'm the best judge, but February was okay. I didn't love my February run. There were definitely some heavy hitters that I watched, but overall, this wasn't that. Overall, I wasn't gagging. I was not gagging. These were like kind of my least. Some of these were like my least favorite Oscar nominees for the Oscars movies, the Oscar movies that I watched, and then the new movies that came out. There were some cute ones, but I don't know. I just wasn't overall fully gagging the Alleganza down, you know, and neither was I in January. So we're still heating up. We're heating up our nachos. Okay. Now let's just get into it. If you don't know, what I do for these wrap ups is I kind of go through the award ceremony and then I go through Pharaoh's favorite ceremony. So I get through the technical information that I feel I got from these movies. Which movies do I feel like technically had the best score? Not my favorite score, but the best score and the best cinematography and the best supporting acting of performance. I'm trying to learn and like teach myself how to analyze movies and film in, you know, a more critical way. So that's kind of what the first half of this podcast is going to be. And then the second half is going to be me talking about what I like. So those are the two segments I get into. But before then, I do like to kind of just talk about genres. I love the concept of genres and the concepts of like stuff like that. So I want to first get into kind of like my, what is it called? Statistics. So like I said, I already let y'all know I watched more movies this month because I watched 12 this month and I watched 10 last month. I should definitely add some more statistics because right now all I got is the amount of movies I watched and the top genres. There's definitely some more I can add in there. So I'll figure that out in the future. But my top genres for this month. And what's funny is I thought after last month, because what I did last month in January was I took the top 4 genre categories for each movie. And I was like, I'll consider all of the top 4 when I do my list of what were the top genres I watched, because every movie has multiple genres. And I feel like it's important for me to kind of like include multiple genres of a movie. If it's a horror comedy, I don't think it makes sense for me to just consider it a horror and then not put comedy down for that genre, because then it wouldn't be I don't think it would be an accurate thing. So last month I did do the top 4. I was like, that's kind of a lot. So this month I just did the top 3 genres from each movie. I feel like that's a little bit more sensible. So that's what I did. Now, I thought that the genres of last month were going to be just a rotating amount of genres that I was going to do. Because last month it was horror, it was drama, sci-fi, and romance that were the top genres. So I was like, okay, it'll probably just be a mixture of those forever. No, none of these genres that made it to the top this month were the same as last month. It's crazy. I was so surprised. I don't know why I was surprised, but I was so surprised. So my top genres for February were comedy. 7 of the 12 movies I watched were considered comedy as their top 3 genres. Girl, boo. Action. 5 of the movies were action and 3 of the movies were adventure. Yeah, it was just very surprising. I was surprised by all of those. I was surprised by all of those. I was like, am I walking around watching action and adventure movies? Like, it didn't give that to me. I didn't even feel like I was watching that many comedy movies this month. Like, it was so surprising. It was so surprising. But when you kind of get into it and dig deep, you realize what's really happening. You realize that is what's happening. But that's kind of why I like talking about it. So yes, there's that. Oh, another statistic I guess I can go over is how many of what I should go over, because I'm doing such a mixture of movies, is how many movies that I watched this month that were from 2025, actually from the month of February, because I didn't I should talk about that. So 5 of these 12 movies actually did get released in February 2025. And those are the only 5 that I watched that were released in 2025. Period. 5 of the movies were released in 2024, and I'm watching them because of the Oscars. So I watched 5 Oscar Best Picture nominees, and I watched 5 movies that were released in February 2025. The other 2 movies, one of the movies was re-released in theaters because it was an anniversary, and then the other movie was just an old movie that I wanted to watch. So that's the list. Those are the stats for the types of movie, the years of the movie that I watched that came out. So boom. There's that. Now, let's get into these awards, honey. Period. Let's get into this award ceremony right the fuck now, okay? For this award section, look, if you have a different feeling and opinion, post it, comment it, let me know. Great. I support. I love differing opinions because I'm not right. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Dead ass. So correct me, adjust me, whatever you need to do what you need to do, okay? I'm just giving a warning, okay? Now, let's start it off with best score. I am not going to lie. None of these movies do I really remember the score. And that's just me being honest, me being real. I was like, damn, I don't remember any of these scores. And it could be because this month wasn't the best for me when it came to like fully being able to pay attention to some of these movies. For some of them, I was like sick. I was like watching I watched like 3 of these movies kind of sick. I watched like 2 of them from home, which I don't usually do. I guess that's another stat. Yeah, that's another fun fact. 4 of these movies this month I watched on streaming, and then the other 8 I watched in the theaters. Usually, last month I watched every single movie in the theaters. But yeah, this month that was a little bit different. So I don't know if that's why I wasn't able to get into the scores, but I think that might be why I wasn't able to really get into the scores. Plus, I mean, sometimes the score just doesn't pop out at me. And if it doesn't, it's like, okay, a bunch of mid scores, no shade. So for best score, there were, I will say, honorable mention to kind of Conclave, not really, but Conclave was one of the movies where I actually do remember the score and I do remember the sounds within the movie. So I feel like it's because I kind of remembered that one. I felt like that was worth me mentioning because I did kind of remember it. Also, shout out to Parasite. I feel like I kind of remember the Parasite score as well, a tad. And shout out to Dune Part 2. Because I feel like also I kind of remembered because I remembered it, it's like, okay, y'all clearly did something right. So shout out to those movies. But if I had to choose a score, I would definitely have to choose A Complete Unknown. Now, once again, the soundtrack versus score thing still confuses me to this day. I do think that the soundtrack would be if it was other songs, but the score is still fine. Bitch, I don't know. Because if it's a musical, is that considered a score? Like the Wicked soundtrack, you wouldn't consider that within the score, but yes, you would. Right? I still don't know the difference, y'all. I'm sorry. But this is how I'm interpreting it. Correct me because I'm probably wrong. I'm interpreting it as if the movie is a musical and it has a soundtrack that is being produced because of the film. This film is producing this soundtrack. That would be still considered a score that I can award for a good score because it was created for this film. On the flip side, if it was just taking other songs and putting them in the movie, that would be more of a soundtrack rather than a score. Like Shrek. Shrek had a bunch of like famous songs that they put throughout the movie, but that wouldn't be the score. That would be the sound. Fuck! I'm going to Google it. And I've Googled it before, but I'm going to Google it again. Because what? A film score is original music composed for a film. That's what I was saying about. Wait, but the Wicked soundtrack isn't original because it originated from the play. And A Complete Unknown soundtrack isn't original because it originated from Bob Dylan. So maybe they're not scores. While a soundtrack is a collection of songs or tracks chosen for a film. So I was right. Shrek has a soundtrack because they chose songs, put them in the movie. See, but I'm still confused about A Complete Unknown and Wicked because in a way it falls in between both of them because sure, it's not the original song. It wasn't originally created for Wicked the movie, but Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande sung that. They re-sung it for Wicked. So now it is a part of the score because they're creating it for this movie. It's not like they just snatched the songs from the Broadway musical and put it on there. And it's not like Timothy Chalamet sung these songs. So that would be the score because they are creating it and composing it for the movie. They're not just snatching the songs and putting it up there. Right? Next question. Are musicals considered score? Whatever, you get it. Yes, a musical is considered a score because the term score refers to an entire written musical composition of a theatrical production, including the music, lyrics, and any accompanying instrumental, which is exactly what makes up a musical. Okay, now that we went through all of that, I can confidently say A Complete Unknown is going to get best score for me. Thank God. Thank God. The score, the music within the fuck. I hate even using the word because I just feel so unsure, but I'm going to say it confidently. The score of A Complete Unknown was great. Timothy Chalamet, he sounded great. That his co-star who also sung, what is her name? She was nominated for an Oscar, and I didn't think she needed to be nominated for it. No shade. Because she did well as well. Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez. Monica Barbaro, she did well as well. She sung very beautifully as well. Timothy Chalamet sounded really beautiful. Who was nominated for Best Supporting? Edward Norton, he sounded really beautiful. They did really good. They did really, really good with this score. I liked it. I think they sounded great. I think the music was great. Apparently, Timothy was actually playing the guitar. That was also really great. So, giving it to A Complete Unknown for that. Good movie. Cute movie. Best cinematography. Now, look. For me, everything gets extra points for an extra level of creativity. Because Timothy was singing and because he was playing the actual guitar and the actual harmonica, I'm giving them props for that. And with best cinematography, I'm giving it to Nickel Boys because the creativity is always gonna get props. First of all, the movie is already beautiful just as it is. But the fact that they showed us this entire movie from the point of view of the main character was such a risk, and it was so well done. It felt so raw, and that's how it was supposed to feel. It just enhanced the entire experience of the movie that they shot it the way that they did, and it still looked gorgeous and beautiful. I loved the cinematography of Nickel Boys. It was such an interesting decision, and it caught me off guard because I had no idea. So I'm sitting in the theater, and then I see that they're in the point of view of the boy. And I was like, oh, this is cute. I wonder when we'll turn around and see him. And it's like, you don't. It's such a it's almost uncomfortable. It's almost an uncomfortable feeling a little bit. And you kind of have to get used to it. It's just, and what it does for the type of movie it is, because Nickel Boys, first of all, I would recommend anybody to go watch Nickel Boys. Watch it right now. And it is about racial injustice, and it's about the civil rights movement. So making the audience kind of have to adjust to his world is exactly the feeling he's feeling because he has to adjust to the white world that he's living in. It is just so symbolic. It just, oh my God. Like, I can't even, I can't. What's his name? Elwood. Making us adjust to Elwood's point of view, bitch. Girl, that was amazing, and it just meant so much for the movie, and it enhanced the movie so much. When the cinematography can enhance the movie like that, and that was like a directorial choice as well, wasn't it? Like, I might need to consider who I'm giving best director to, because what kind of choice is that? Is that something that's definitely something the director tells the cinematographer that he's going to do, right? So it's like, the director should be getting big ups for that. Definitely. Like, I love that down. That was really, really good. So shout out to Nickel Boys for sure. Now, Best supporting acting performance. Look, for me, this go around, I did not love a lot of the supporting actors, even though two of them were nominated for an Oscar. Two people from A Complete Unknown were nominated for an Oscar. I didn't think either of them deserved those nominations. Oh, and Zoe Saldana was nominated for an Oscar. Now, quickly, I'll get into it in March, I think a little more. But Zoe Saldana in that Oscar, I'm not as mad as you'd think I am. I don't fuck with Emilia Perez. You'll hear it throughout this podcast, but her performance specifically was the only good thing about that movie. So I guess it just is what it is. But yes, my best supporting acting performances of the month are going to go to, her name is, if I butcher these names, my apologies. I'm not trying to. But Jong Hae-jin or Jong Hee-jin from Parasite, and then also Kang Ho Song from Parasite. Honey, because look, this was my first real time watching Parasite. When I watched Parasite the first time when it came out, I watched it on Netflix. I was in my bed. I was literally falling asleep. I was like, let me put something on so I can fall asleep too. Put it on. I was like, ooh, this is kind of good. Ended up falling asleep. Woke up. I was like, damn, this is kind of good. But I was like, I was in and out. I wasn't really locked the fuck in. This was my first time I watched it locked the fuck in. When I tell y'all this is a movie, this is a motherfucking movie. And I enjoyed both of their performances so well. They were the parents of the poor family in the movie of Parasite. Both of them, to me, I feel like they were so necessary to this movie. And they helped me feel like the shit that was going down was real. They were so comfortable with each other. They were so comfortable with the rest of the cast. It just felt so real. It felt like they were real parents of this poor family and who was really like, I don't know, just like guiding their kids to do what you got to do to get by. It just felt so real to me. And I loved both of their performances. They were both able to be very funny, but also very serious at times. They were able to like help increase the intense feeling of the movie that was already there because they were so good at invoking a real reaction. I remember in the movie, there was a moment where the father's character, Ki-woo is the character's name, he was like under the table and he was hiding from the rich family, and the rich family was talking about his scent and his smell, and such a good movie. But that moment, it's like, if you don't believe that these characters are real, it doesn't mean much to you. But he had made so many different parts of this character come to life that by that moment, even though he's doing such a like that character is doing a bad thing technically, he's like not necessarily the best of anything. He's not the best at anything. He's not this Superman of a character. He's just a regular dude, but he feels so real to me that in that moment I feel bad for him. I'm like, damn, yeah, you're literally invoking and parasiting on this family, but I don't give a fuck. They're talking shit about you. That's so hurtful. And him being hurt made me feel hurt. I was like, yes, like I felt it through the motherfucking screen. So shout out to both of them. I feel like they definitely enhanced that movie together. Both of them very, very much so. I know it's an old movie, so I kind of feel bad sometimes giving these awards to older movies when I'm doing a February 2025 wrap up. But hey, I said what the fuck I said. These February 2025 movies should have been eating the fuck up. Because so far they have no awards, so they better get the rest of these awards. Now, I kind of felt like I don't have a limit for who I want to give these awards to, right? So I didn't have in my mind, I'm only going to give two, one for a woman, one for a man. First of all, gender is a concept. Second of all, I feel like it wouldn't be fair because if there's a non-binary person who I want to give the award, then what am I going to do? It's just not inclusive. So I'm not going to do one man, one woman. I'm just picking who I feel like are at the top. I don't think I want to go over like 4 people for these awards, but I haven't ever felt like I needed to go over 4 people because I guess I haven't watched so many movies. So the point is, I have one more that I want to shout out, and that is Pete Davidson in Dogman. First of all, normalize awarding people for animation. Second of all, Pete Davidson murdered his role in Dogman as Petey the motherfucking cat. When I tell you, I was watching that cartoon and I was like, damn, this is a super villain. Whole time it's Pete Davidson. Like, whoa! Like, I was like, this is a real live cat. Really organizing this shit. Like, bitch, when I tell you he killed it. He killed it. He killed it. He killed it. And shout out to the animators too. Girl, give him his award. And I do think we need a voice acting award. And so I was listening to House of Cinema. Shout out to House of Cinema podcast. Great podcast. Very inclusive. Love them. And they were talking about what awards could they add to the Oscars. This is not the Oscar episode, but it might need to be. Because like I said, I want to talk about it in March, but I already seen this, so I'm talking about it in February. But anyways, they were talking about what awards needed to be added to the Oscars. And someone mentioned a voice acting award. And they were like, but does it make it seem like voice acting isn't acting? And that's not fair. You should kind of just include it in the best acting awards, which I agree. I feel like even though I'm doing a best supporting acting award, it could definitely go to Pete Davidson, which he was kind of a lead. So it's almost like, am I doing award nomination fraud by putting him in this best supporting? Maybe I should put him in best lead. He's definitely a lead. I don't know. The reason it felt like it was supporting is because Dogman feels like Dogman is supposed to be the lead, obviously, and he's just a villain, so he feels like he's supposed to be supportive. It's like Guy Pearce and fucking Adrian Brody. It's like, you're the villain. You're not the fucking lead actor. But I mean, technically, PD kind of is the lead actor because he's the main character. He could be lead or support. I said what the fuck I said. I'll give him supporting. If you want to give him lead, you give him lead. I said what I said. I feel like he can do, look, he can do fraud. He can do nomination fraud. I don't care. Category fraud, whatever you call it. But anyways, I felt like his performance was really, really good. And I do feel like they should consider voice acting performances more. But this is the thing. I do think it should be separate categories, because even though voice acting is acting 100%, it is different. It is not the same. He is probably using facial features and all of this, but he's not required to invoke any of his body and his face and all of that on the screen. So even though he is probably still doing all those things, and he still deserves to probably be nominated in like a big award segment as just an actor, it's not easy for people who are voting to compare a cartoon performance, an animated performance, with a real live action performance. So I feel like it's fair, and I think it's okay to just have two different categories. I just think what you should do is you should make sure the animated acting performances categories are still highlighted just as much as regular acting performance or live action acting performances, because they're just as hard, just as difficult, maybe even harder. I feel like it might even be more difficult to do a voice acting performance because you can't use your face and you can't evoke emotion the way you usually do when you're acting. So definitely something to consider. But hey, I don't know. I'm not a pro. But yes, shout out to Pete Davidson. He did really, really great. I didn't even know it was him until afterwards. I was like, oh my God, this was Pete Davidson the whole time. So great performance, if you ask me. Next, best lead acting performance. First of all, and shout out to Dogman for being the first award given to something that actually came out in February 2025. What? Didn't expect that. But yes, lead acting performance. Number one, I'm giving it to Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown. I'm doing it. The Oscars didn't do it, but I'll do it. Fuck it. Now, do I feel like he should have beat Adrian Brody? No, I don't. I do feel like Adrian Brody had a better acting performance. Slightly, I will say. It's not this big gap between the two, because Timothy would have been a great winner for me. I loved his performance as Bob Dylan. He had me wanting to find out, research Bob Dylan. I was like, wait, who's Bob Dylan again? Like, what's tea on that? He did so great. His voice sounded amazing doing the singing parts. The fact that he worked so hard, apparently he was working for years to learn how to do the harmonica and play the guitar and voice train himself to do this role. Shout out to that. I love a man who works. So all of those were really good, but also his performance was just great. He had great mannerisms. He had great energy. He felt like a musical star when I was watching him. It felt like, I don't know Bob Dylan, so I don't know if it felt like Bob Dylan. I don't know who that man is, but he made me want to learn about Bob Dylan, the way he was acting, and it did feel like a real person. It felt like he was being someone else. It really felt like that. I wish I knew more about Bob Dylan, because then I could even have a more impressiveness to it, or maybe I wouldn't like it as much. Who knows? I would just have more understanding. So I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was really good without even knowing who Bob Dylan was. So shout out to him for that. My second award I want to give to Halle Berry in B.A.P.S. I watched B.A.P.S for the first time this month. I had never seen it before, or last month, and I had never seen it before. And honestly, it was cute. It was fun. It was very, very fun. But what surprised me the most was Halle Berry's performance, girl. Because if you're Black, maybe even if you're not Black, you probably know Halle Berry. Knowing Halle Berry, she's very poised. She's very, up there. She's very little, very, very royal energy. Very, she's not like prissy, because I feel like prissy is a negative word, but she's just very organized lady. Like, she does not give what the character in B.A.P.S gives. And that's my point. B.A.P.S is a Black American princess. Okay? Like, the B.A.P.S were giving very Black, very hood, and she was believable. She was more believable than I could have ever thought. Like, I was like, wow, this girl is really from the hood, and she really do hair, and she really wear long nails, and she really smack her gum. Like, this was not Halle Berry. And as someone who hadn't seen B.A.P.S, I've seen Catwoman. I've seen, bitch, you know how she do all them what's it called? Them kidnap movies. I've seen all 3-4 of her kidnap movies she's done. I've seen all the X-Men. And that's where I know Halle Berry from. It's like, I know her from things where she hasn't had to get a little ghetto, get a little hood. So for me, I'm like, okay, like, this is Halle Berry. She's really poised. Halle Berry. Girl, no. She's a whole motherfucking... Well, she's not like that. And that's the thing, she's nothing like that in real life. So it's like, it's even more impressive. And I think, for me, impressive acting performances are the ones that you can tell this is not how this actor usually is. This is a whole different character they're invoking, and I really appreciated that. Also, comedy acting needs to be more respected. I feel like comedic acting is very, very difficult. To be funny and to hit a punchline and to be physically comedic, it's very difficult. That is one of the most hardest acting performances to accomplish, is a comedic performance, in my opinion. So for me, I'm like, she definitely deserves her props for this. She did amazing. Good on her. Great on her. 10s across the board. Now, next category I have is Best Director. Girl, I was having a hard time in January trying to understand what director means. This month, I feel like I have a better understanding because I've seen the Oscars. I kind of see who's won. I can kind of understand who were in contention. I don't know. I've watched more movies, so I feel like I do have a little bit of a better understanding of what a director might do versus Best Picture as a whole. Like, just because, and I will say at the Oscars, the person who won Best Director also won Best Picture. And that was kind of my point. I was like, wouldn't you win both? Right? And then, like, what is the criteria for Best Picture, right? And then a part of me was like, maybe they'll give Best Director to The Brutalist and give Best Picture to Anora, but that didn't happen. They just gave both to Anora, which I was fine with. I felt like it deserved, but it just also made me understand, like, okay, there is a slight difference between what the two means, and I'm still trying to like fully grasp it, but I think I have an okay idea for what it is. So now, looking at it, I want to just give Best Director to Parasite. It's between Nickel Boys, Parasite, or the movie that I actually gave it to, I believe. So I'm not even going to say it. But the reason that I really like the directing in like a movie like Parasite and a movie like Nickel Boys is because I feel like I like the movies. And I'm trying to separate that from the actual directing. When I'm thinking about how were the actors interacting with each other? What was something that the actor did versus something the director did? When I think about Parasite, I don't think it's the director, just the director. Of course, the story is amazing and the director did do great at a lot of the moments, because when it comes to like the scene where they're caught in the house by when they catch those other people in the house on Parasite. I'm not trying to spoil it too much, but that scene, it's like, ooh, that was very, very well directed. And there's a lot of scenes that are very, very well directed in Parasite, and I really, really like. But I also feel like the actors were so good that they also, like they brought that even up more, even up higher. So it's like I want to just give it to them, but then I want to be like really critical about what I really mean and what I really feel. I don't know. Same with Nickel Boys. I feel like for me, it's hard with Nickel Boys because of the perspective of that movie, because the movie is told in the perspective of of Elwood, and we're kind of watching these people interact with him through the lens. I feel like it's harder for me as someone new to understanding directing to understand exactly what capabilities the director had to get that to happen. But those are my honorable mentions for sure. I feel like both of those movies, if I had a better understanding, I'd be able to confidently say that those two were probably up there. But I can't confidently say it. So I'm going to give Best Director to Dune Part 2, actually, because I feel like there was a lot of different type of directing he had to do. There were a lot of emotional and romantic moments between Timothy and Zendaya that kind of had to be invoked. There's a lot of like family moments between his mom and him, and then the emotional moments that he had to deal with just him kind of going a little crazy, no shade. And I felt like all of those were very, very well directed. And then definitely the fight choreography. I feel like people sleep on the fight choreography and what that takes to kind of like fully, to fully engage the audience with stuff like that. And I feel like they ate it every single time. So I really loved that. I'll give it to Doom Part 2. I might regret that or change my mind, but I don't know. Right now, I'm fine with that. I think I'm confident with saying that. It was a really, really well shot movie, in my opinion. Now, let me get to my best picture ranking. I'm going to give it to y'all from my least favorite to my most favorite, okay? Least favorite, easily, Emilia Perez. That's number 12 for me. Flop. Period. Bad movie. And it's a bad movie for a lot of different reasons, but it was not good for me. Number 11, I have Love Hurts. Notice I haven't mentioned it all episode, no shade. Number 10, I have Captain America, A Brave New World. It's fine. It's just, I think most of the movies I watched this month were pretty good. For me, Captain America, it was mid for me, and it's no shade. Like as a film, as a Best Picture award, no shade. Number 9 is Dogman. Number 8, I have B.A.P.S. Should probably flip those. I think number 9 should be B.A.P.S. and number 8 should be Dogman. Number 7, I have The Monkey. Number 6, I have Hard Eyes. Number 5, I have A Complete Unknown. 4, I have Dune Part 2. 3, I have Conclave. 2, I have Nickel Boys. And 1, number 1 Best Picture of the month is Parasite. And I mean that shit. And Parasite won best Picture, as it should. And I mean that shit. My Best Picture ranking is going to be different from my favorites ranking, just to let y'all know, because it's not the same. Understanding that a movie is the best is not the same as liking a movie more than another one. And that's just period on period. So yes, there you go. That's my Best Picture ranking. Parasite is that girl. I've already talked about it enough. No need to keep eating it up. Let's slide in to the favorites of the month. Okay. Now, firstly, my favorite characters have to go to, and let me get their character name because I got the actors' names. So maybe it's my favorite actors. No shade. Okay. My favorite characters of the month are Jay Simmons and Amy McCabe from Hard Eyes. Man, say, and like I said, I had Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding written down because I feel like their characters aren't, I don't know these people, first of all, but I feel like they were able to kind of like be a lot like themselves with those characters from what I do know about those two actors. So that's why I kind of blend the two together. But I love them as characters. They were so funny and they had so much chemistry throughout that entire movie. They carried that movie for me. I like that movie a lot. And it was just because of the main characters being able to be so comedic, so funny, and so endearing, and so romantic. Oh, I just loved it. But also, I just loved the characters themselves. Their personalities were very fun. I like how their story of them meeting and then them fighting Hard Eyes. I just enjoyed their characters, them as characters, and their little banter. Very, very fun for me. Such a fun time. And because of those characters, that's why I really enjoyed that movie a lot. So shout out to them for sure. The next set of people, the entire family from Parasite. The entire Kim family from Parasite. Loved all of them. They all ate. They ate. The sister going in there and eating that shit up as the tutor. Whole time she was the motherfucking sister. They ate. I loved their entire family down. I was rooting for them so bad, honey. Shout out to them. Boom. Now, least favorite characters. Ciao. I only had one this month. I was like, honestly, there's nothing, none of them were like standing out to me as like, I hate this person as easily as it did last month. But my least favorite characters are both from B.A.P.S. It's gonna be the nephew, I think his name was Isaac, and then Antonio, the motherfucking worker. Fuck you, because they both were trying to set my girls up. Are you guys crazy? That was crazy. So definitely don't fuck with either of them. Definitely my least favorite characters. It's a fucking chop. Okay? Next. Favorite plot, easily Parasite. Such an interesting plot. Eat the motherfucking rich. It was just so unique and so uniquely done. And I know it's a concept. Eat the rich is a concept that's in a lot of movies. But for me, it's not something that I constantly see done the way that Parasite did it. There is a newer movie that is a lot like Parasite. What is it? Where it's like about someone infiltrating somebody's like space. Saltburn. And I loved it on Saltburn too. That's the thing. Like I love that plot. The plot of entering, what's it called? Ruining something from within, ruining a structure from within. I love that concept a lot. So it was great with Saltburn as well. But yes, Parasite, definitely my favorite plot. Least favorite plot, gotta be Emilia Perez. Girl, what the fuck? I'm not even gonna get too much into that. Just girl, what the fuck? Just girl, what the fuck? Just girl, what the fuck? I found it very like disrespectful. Like I didn't find the Emilia Perez plot endearing or interesting or anything. I found it just totally disrespectful to multiple communities. I've seen so many Mexican people talk about how disrespectful the movie was to Mexican people. And then I've seen so many transgender people talk about how disrespectful it was to the transgender community. And then when I watched it, I was like, I'm not gagging. I'm not gagging because the whole plot is like, oh, this man is turning into a woman so he can escape. That's not fucking interesting. Get the fuck out of here. There was one part of the plot that I didn't mind, and it was the part towards the end where the main character, Emilia Perez, is trying to give back to the community. That part is cute, I guess. But it's just you did so much like slander and just weird icky stuff to lead up to there where I can't even respect that part. It's just such a not respectful movie for me. No shade. And with that, honestly, we can slide into my favorite movie ranking. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit different than the best picture ranking because, like I said, the best picture is not my favorite movie. No shade. So number 12 for me is Emilia Perez. Girl, like I said, very disrespectful. Didn't enjoy it at all in that way. I enjoyed making fun of it more than I enjoyed watching the movie. Shame. Number 11, I have Dogman. Dogman is a good movie. It's just for kids. Like it mostly is for kids. There's some adult jokes in there, but for me, it's not something that I can enjoy because I'm grown. Take your kids to see it. You can enjoy it enough to watch it with your kids there, I feel. But it's definitely for kids. It wasn't for me. Number 10, I have Love Hurts. I haven't given Love Hurts a lot of attention. I do have a Goonies poster that needs to be back up on my wall. So shout out to Love Hurts for having the Goonies recognition. We need a whole revival of that. Apparently there is going to be a reboot of the Goonies. So that'll be very interesting. I don't know if I'll like it, but that'll be interesting. Number 9, I have Captain America Brave New World. It was cute. Like I said, it just wasn't my favorite. It didn't stand out to me in any way. It didn't stand out as an MCU movie. It didn't stand out within the other movies I watched during the month. No shade. It was just cute. No shade. Number 8, I have A Complete Unknown. You know, I actually surprisingly enjoyed A Complete Unknown a lot. I really, really liked A Complete Unknown. I think I watched it early in the month, so there was probably some recency bias for other movies that bumped it up above it. But I think for A Complete Unknown, it's not something that I care to rewatch again. During the watch, I had a really good time, but it's not talking about anything. I don't know Bob Dylan and I don't care about Bob Dylan. So it's not enough to bring me back to the movie over and over again. It's just not an interesting plot. It's not an interesting enough plot for me to want to go back to it. It's just Bob Dylan's life that I don't necessarily care for, you know? So that's why I didn't like it that much. Number 7, I have The Monkey. The monkey was very cute. I was confused about how I felt out of it. I'm still a little confused about how I feel about it. I don't think it's like, an amazing movie at all. I just think for me, it's like middle of the road. It was fun at a lot of moments, but I didn't love what it did at a lot of moments. So it kind of just fell in the middle. But I'd be way more excited to revisit a movie like this because it left me confused and because it left me conflicted. I'd want to go back to it. You feel me? Number 6, I have Conclave. I really liked Conclave. Conclave is another movie though. I'm like, I don't think I need to go rewatch Conclave. It like very neatly gave me every single thing I needed. Like I didn't miss a beat with Conclave. It was like this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. It was just very organized, a super organized movie. So it doesn't leave me wanting more. So I think that's why I couldn't go much higher than this. But it was a really, really good movie, and I really liked it. Number 5, I have B.A.P.S. A lot of the reason for this is honestly because I'll probably watch it over and over and over again. It feels like such a comfort movie for me. Also, it's just very Black, and I'm Black. Next, number 4, Dune Part 2. Dune Part 2 was really good. I need to rewatch Dune Part 2. And clearly, now that I'm talking it through, rewatch value is definitely going into my favorite ranking. So I just really enjoyed it. It's such an epic. It's so many different elements to it that I really like. I love that it's a part of this big overarching story. It feels like I have a chance to kind of get into one of these big franchises like Star Wars, like Lord of the Rings. Like I've never really been a part of any of these big franchises. And I hate that I'm coming on the Dune train a little late, but I'm ready to hop on and strap in. Okay. Number 3, I have Nickel Boys. So important. Such a great meaning. I would have had it top 2, but honestly, I was like, with Nickel Boys, it's almost very, it's very raw. And because it's so raw, it's hard for me to want to ever watch it again. It's like one of those things where it's like, ooh, this is hitting very, very close to home. And it's just such a rough and raw topic, but it's really, really good. I probably should put it number 1. Honestly, it's just because of that, fear and angst it drives into me. It's almost a little traumatic. Like I didn't experience any of that, but it's just a little bit traumatic to the experience. So I'm like, ooh, let's just keep it right here. Number 2, I have Hard Eyes. Girl, honey, I loved me some Hard Eyes. And I don't know why, because I didn't like Companion, which is another horror comedy that came out in January. I hated Companion. And then The Monkey was cute, but it wasn't like my favorite. I loved Hard Eyes. I just loved what they did with the romance of it all. I think the romance is what enhanced it for me. I'm a romance type of guy. And I'm not even a rom-com type of guy specifically. I'm specifically a romance type of guy, like Titanic, like Romeo and Juliet, the tragedies, low-key. And this wasn't a tragedy. They were getting hunted, but it just wasn't a tragedy. But it was really, really fun. There were definitely some elements of it that I didn't love, which is why I wasn't high in the best picture ranking. But when it comes to me having a great time, I enjoyed it so much. And let's just be honest, I'm in love with Mason Gooding. If I could just choose anybody in the world to come sit in my bed right now and talk to me for hours, it would be Mason Gooding. Yeah, it would. So he's helping. He's definitely, it's definitely some Stan goggles that I have on for this, but hey, it is what it is. And number 1, by far, Parasite. My God, I love Parasite. I cannot tell you enough. Watch Parasite. 10 out of 10. Break my scale. So there you go. Those are my favorites. And I stand by that shit. Last but not least, my segment, my movie of the month. This is for me to highlight a movie that I watched this month that I want to give some more praise to. I've mentioned it throughout here a little bit, but Hard Eyes is my movie of the month. I feel this movie balances horror, comedy, and romance so well. It is very difficult to balance multiple different genres, and they were able to do it, in my opinion, very, very well. I posted some TikToks about this movie, and right after I watched it, I just felt so happy that they were able to achieve what they wanted to achieve with this. It's so difficult to kind of get all of these different elements correct. And they did such a good job. It was inspired and directed by some of the creators of Scream and My Bloody Valentine. So if you're into those type of movies, I feel like you would like some of the elements of this movie. It's not exactly like them because it doesn't take itself so seriously. Not that those movies take themselves seriously either, but it's way more comedic than either of those movies. So that might throw people off. But for me, I had such a good time. I definitely want to highlight it. Definitely go watch Hard Eyes if you can. And that's it for my February wrap up. This was a fun one. This was a good one. I'm so excited for March. My goals for March are to watch, you know what? I'm going to keep my goals real cute. Because last month I said 20 movies and that was crazy. So for March, my goal is to watch 15 movies. I've already watched one, but I will say we're zooming through March very, very fast. So I don't know if I'll get there, but my goal, my light goal is to watch 15 and just hope for a best. And I really want to watch a movie that comes out in 2025 that I can really talk about, I can really get into, because so far, none of these 2025 movies am I really feeling like this is a Best Picture nominee and this is something that I can really see winning an award and da, da, da. I don't feel necessarily like that about any of these movies so far. So that's what I'm excited to do going into March. But make sure you tune in with me. I'm going to try to get back into the groove with it. I do apologize about the delays and shit. Baby, I got a lot of shit going on. So I'm going to try my best to at least get some podcast episodes out every week. So definitely just get into it. Please stay with me. Subscribe. Put your post notifications on until I get consistent because it's not going to be a guarantee for which day or when it is. So please turn your notification on. Please subscribe. Just stick with me. And thank you for tuning in as I tune in, baby. I'm out.